G'day kids, great to have you along for what we and the rest of the players you'll soon meet hope will become a really valuable learning tool as you hone those skills which will help you become the best player you can possibly be in what is the best game you can play.
We'll take you through all the major skills as well as some of the more subtle ones as we present you with valuable coaching hints and practice methods which will give you a great start in Australian football. But what you're about to see, the lessons you're about to learn will take you only so far. The most important thing you can do is to practice. Remember, there isn't one champion in the history of the game who hasn't worked at his skills. It's only through dedication and hard work that they have reached the lofty heights they have. Keep that in mind as you set about your training and practice. Use it as a challenge and have fun with it. Set yourself little goals and you'll enjoy the work and even more, enjoy your improvement. Get mum and dad involved.
Hi everyone. Before we get stuck into the specifics of the drop punt, the game's most reliable kick, let's run through a few things worth keeping in mind when kicking generally. There are some occasions when you won't be able to do this, but always try to line your body up with your target. Get your shoulders nice and square onto the person or position you want the ball to find. Keep your head over the ball, body slightly bent, with your eyes on the ball as you guide it down to your foot with one hand. Once you've made contact with the ball hitting your laces, get into the habit of pointing your toe to the target when following through. That will help you with your accuracy. Now let's turn our attention to the specifics of the drop punt. The grip is the starting point, and as is the case with all kicks, it's very important to make sure you perform the drop punt reliably. The fingers need to be evenly spread along each side of the ball, with your thumbs extending to the top of the laces as you look down the ball. This is the grip for both left and right foot kicks. It may look like I'm squeezing the ball with both hands, but I'm really getting ready to guide the ball down with my right hand. My left is just supporting my grip. Make sure you have a nice balanced approach if you're having a set shot. Give yourself plenty of room when kicking over the man on the mark before you release the ball for the kick. When you do, guide it down with one hand and aim to kick the football on its bottom point. Remember, if you've made correct contact with the ball, hitting your laces and toes pointing to the target, it will spin backwards, as all beautiful drop punts do.
It's a very crowded forward line. It should suit Collingwood. Oh, he's gone the roost.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, yes. Michael Voice.
Malcolm, you've lost your crown. I'll tell you what, that's up there with yours.
Kicked properly, the drop punt provides great accuracy and good distance, although you should practice kicking the drop punt over a range of distances. See how far you can kick it when you're warmed up, but also spend time practicing kicking it softly. You'll be amazed how often the shorter kick comes in handy.
Buckley into the pocket. How good was this kick?
Oh, great kick.
How good was that? That is just a ripper.
Just 22 years of age.
History.
He's got it.
Now let's have a look at the kick I reckon is the most fun, but it's not necessarily the one coaches love the most. It can be a touch erratic, the torpedo punt. To take us through this kick's finer points is the biggest and best exponent of the torp in the modern game, Geelong's super boot, Ben Graham.
Thanks a lot, Wayne. G'day, kids. Well, it's true, I've got to admit, I love sending the odd torpedo into orbit, but I wouldn't be game to do it in a match unless I'd spent heaps of time practicing. It can be a bit hit and miss. But when you get onto one, well, there are a few better feelings in Australian football.
The difference, 14 points. Graham. Oh, he's gone for the spiral. It'll get to the centre. Oh, look at that.
World record.
Oh, unbelievable
It's
kick.
gone half the length of the ground.
Over the centre circle. The mark taken by Lade.
It's 105 metres.
I tell you
How
what,
long is this ground?
To begin with, you've got to make sure you get the grip right. The ball needs to be held on an angle across your body. This is how the angle should look. If you're a right footer, the left hand should be slightly forward and the right hand behind the lacing. If you're a lefty like me, just reverse the hand positions. Again, I'm preparing to guide the ball down with this hand, my left, and supporting the ball with my other. The ball release is crucial. It needs to be guided down on the same angle as you held the ball making sure that it stays angled across the kicking leg. When your foot makes contact with the ball, it should spin in a spiral motion, which is why the torpedo punt travels that extra distance. It's not used as often as the drop punt, but it is still a perfectly required kick at times, especially when kicking out from fullback, something I do a fair bit of, and also when kicking for goal from a long way out, something I also don't mind having a go at from time to time. So good luck with it and have lots of fun practicing.
Mooney, they had a chance to sew it up the Kangaroos and they've let them back. He's gone the talk. Oh no! Oh no! He's kicked the point.
He's kicked it.
That has taken off like a rocket.
There it is.
It's back. Lockwood can unload. Oh, he goes for top. The old barrel. What a kick from Bowen Lockwood. Where did that come from? Let him have a shot. Might just set it up. Oh, he goes. He says, anything you can do, Bowen Lockwood, I can do better. Oh, he loves it. They can do anything at the moment. There's no one home. Just had to wait for the handball to Lappin. Weighs up his options, decides to go bang with a big torp. It's a big kick. He's kicked the goal.
From the power of the torpedo punt, let's now turn our attention to the more subtle craft work of the banana kick, a kick which is being used more often now than in any stage of the game's history. You'll see players using the banana when faced with tight goal-kicking angles on their non-preferred kicking foot. It has become one of the most important kicks in the game, and one bloke who does it better than most is Western Bulldogs skipper Chris Grant.
Thanks, Michael. The banana is a kick which takes a lot of work to get right, but once you do master the art, you should have a fair amount of control over it.
That's a good day's work, even if he went off the ground now. Grant, oh, banana kick, close. Oh, that's not bad. The crowd likes it. I think he's kicked it. He has.
You need to hold the ball as though kicking a reverse torpedo punt. Basically, if you're a right foot kick, it will be your right hand which is placed forward on the ball and the opposite for the left footers out there. The angle you should hold the ball at should be the same as you would for a torpedo. The grip will count for little if you don't release the ball properly. It needs to be guided down so that it makes contact at an angle across your boot. The aim is to bend the ball when shooting for goal from a sharp angle. For a right footer to make the ball move from left to right, the kicking boot needs to make contact with the left-hand end of the ball. A left footer will want it to bend from right to left, and so will kick the right-hand end of the ball. There is quite a bit of judgment in getting the right bend on the ball. The closer to the pointed end you connect, the more sharply the ball will bend. Also, this is the one kick where your kicking foot does not go directly towards its target. You need to kick in a straight line at a point that will allow the ball to bend through the goal. Take it slowly and practice it step by step. Find a place where you can practice a banana without having to kick it very far. A great idea is to grab a friend, have him stand in the goal square of your local ground while you practice from just beyond the point post. Once you're on top of the banana kick, you will find it a very useful skill.
Short kick, Black. Good hands, he plays off. It's a tough kick from the boundary. He's gone checks on. Has he got it?
Ronnie Burns just to finish them off. Some magic from Ronnie! What about that one? If you don't mind umpire.
Remember too, kids, while you will always want to kick on your naturally preferred kicking foot, the most valuable thing you can do is work hard on your opposite or non-preferred side. Very few players reach the top level, being one-sided these days.
Today we're going to show you 3 versions of the handball, but in all of them there are 3 main teaching points to remember when preparing to perform them. First of all, the ball must be cradled with the bottom hand. Let's call that the platform hand, with your arm nice and long. Secondly, it needs to be hit with a clenched fist. Always remember to keep your thumb outside your clenched fingers, not tucked away on the inside. As a rule, just sit it across your index finger the way Andrew is doing it here. You'll strike the ball with the V made by your index finger. The third thing to remember and practice is stepping onto your front foot. All we want you to concentrate on is, if you're handballing with your right hand, to simply step forward on your left foot, toes towards the target and your front knee also leaning towards the target. Complete the handball by allowing your punching arm to swing through freely. It should be quite natural for you to move your platform hand slightly to the right so that your striking hand comes through in a straight line. Your hands should both be below waist height when you hit the ball. In the early stages of practice, you will need to look at the ball when you are setting up and hitting it. But after a while, you won't need to. You can be looking at your target. Also remember to keep your punching arm slightly flexed or bent and aim to hit the ball on its point. Another really good teaching tip for kids starting out their handball practice is to catch your fist after you've hit the ball off your platform hand. That will get you into the habit of having both hands providing control and direction when handballing. Remember, you must punch the ball clear of your platform hand, otherwise it is a throw. As with all things in football, practice on both sides of your body, in this case, left and right handballing. So they're the basics. Now let's have a look at a couple of specific handballs you should practice.
Towards the wing, how's that for class? Rafunda to Cousins, inside a looping hand pass, releases Weed, comes to Jakovic, man on towards the middle, should have gone to Turnbull, now he does. Reid has run on, he can run to 50 and take a shot, elects not to, goes to Cummings, thought about a hand pass back, but thought why should I? Kicks a brilliant goal.
The first of these is the rocket or backspinning handball. This handball is designed to find its target with greater accuracy and, if necessary, greater speed. Set up to handball exactly the way we've already shown you, but when you hit the ball, you want it to spin backwards like a drop punt kick. To cause the ball to spin this way, simply tip the ball up in your platform hand so that it looks like a rocket about to take off away from you. Hit the ball above the point, continue through the ball and catch your fist. It will spin backwards. If you practice this, you will find that you can spear a handball with greater accuracy or hit nice soft handballs in close for teammates to easily take away.
Slap that he wanted Tallis, he's not going to find him. Ratton, penetrating hand pass to Camporelli is good.
Scott West was at the back, clever through traffic, setting something up. Here's a chance for Garlick.
60 metres out, the hand pass to Ramanauskas goes again. Mercury to Long, 20 metres out, Long runs in and kicks it.
The second handball worth practicing is the bounce handball. Set up in the usual manner, but this time tip the ball the other way so that the nose is pointing down into your platform hand. Hit the ball in a bottom to top type motion. The ball will run end over end along the ground in a tumbling motion. You should experiment. Have it bounce halfway between your intended receiver. See how many times you can get it to bounce before it gets to your partner. Try to make it bounce straight up off one bounce to him. You will find this handball especially useful if an opponent is shaping to smother your normal handball. You can work the ball around him by handballing it under their outstretched arms.
Just have a look at the deft skills here. Firstly, of Ratton, it was a purposeful handball, and this one from Franchina, just to the voice, was outstanding. But the underground handball by Brett Ratton just showed his true class.
Quick kick by Ramanauskas forward. Will they have the numbers at the drop of the ball? Lovely handball. It ends up with Caracella. It goes over to Johnson. It's a goal.
Practice all of these handballs. Set up your targets in your backyard. Handball into rubbish bins. Bounce a handball over a low fence. Handball through a hole in the fence. Or better still, grab mum or dad or a friend and work together. And as we've stated earlier and will continually say throughout these demonstrations, make sure you practice with both your left and right hands.
Too hard for Tarrant. Burke had to cough it up. Williams' handball was fantastic to Burns, who caresses it a bit and kicks a goal. Paul Williams superb.
Koutafidis at ground level, flips the ball out, and a chance for Christo. He's made, he bounces it for goal.
Anthony Koutafidis, have a look at this, scoops it in one hand, picks it up the other, shelves it out, legal, and then an outside the left foot kick from his mate Ange Christo.
G'day kids, hope the practice is going well. I might be a bit biased, but for mine, the ruckman is the most important player in any side.
22 and a half minutes, second quarter. Port Adelaide's last goal. This one, was it touched by Rice? He says it was. Umpire said no.
It was a beautiful tap. Kept it low, and Dean Rice is saying I touched it. Peter Burgoyne celebrating. What's the little tap to the right?
A good practice method can be pretty easily found, probably around your home or yard. Find a low branch or a low ceiling and practice leaping off one leg, turning your body side on and raising the other leg for protection. Once you're comfortable with that, have someone introduce a ball, practice your technique with it, and then begin to work against someone else. When you're practicing, concentrate on the timing of your jump and the various ways you can make contact with the ball, whether it be using the palm to deftly drop it to a teammate, or whether it be the use of your fist to merely send the ball as far in your team's direction as you can. Try to get a feel for the ball on your hand with both methods. It's important to learn to do everything with the other side of your body. Learn to jump off the other leg, to hit with the other hand. A one-sided footballer is too easy to predict and beat.
McIntosh took in front on and won the battle. Gardner, superbly done. Shades of Polly Farmer. Gets it down to Kemp.
Very quickly, as we said, the big guns back on the ground. And most of the scoring being done to that lock.
We touched on palming the ball a few moments ago. Let's now look at a few specific things which can be of assistance here. Let's concentrate to begin with on palming the ball to the front of a contest, beginning by using just the one hand. As is the case with all ruck work, it is essential that you watch the ball through the air. Work out with your midfielders and on-ballers where they will be before the ball up. But once the ball is airborne, it must be your sole focus. Leap off one leg using the other arm and leg to gain as much lift as you can. Keeping your rucking arm clear, raise it as you leap, keeping your palm open. Hit the ball with the open hand in the direction you want it to go, making sure that you follow through towards the target. The follow through is critical at this stage in guaranteeing that all your hard work isn't wasted.
Now the Roos at last on the board. White got it down, Lee and Sally.
3 goals to 2-2.
Oh, great hit.
Corrigan on the end of it.
2 hands are better than one if you find yourself in an uncontested ruck contest, but that's not going to happen too many times. It is worth practicing, however. Practice both forehand and backhand sides when you're working on your palming work. Use exactly the same principles as we've already discussed. Eyes on the ball through the approach and jump, arm raised high, palm open and fingers stretched, but just alter the direction of the hand. Instead of dropping the ball directly in front, you'll begin to practice knocking it to your left and right. The only other place left to palm the ball is to the back of a ruck contest. To do this most effectively, stretch and reach your arm forward and basically turn your palm to face you, dropping the ball to your intended teammate with your palm open, fingers stretched and follow through directly to where you want the ball to go.
Crawford being watched by Bitterskin, player we talked about, not being watched closely enough though. It's a great knock, wasn't it?
Darcy on the front spot, Dimatina on the burst, 70 metres out. Awkward kick to full forward, Johnson and Burns. Johnson, terrific, kicks his 3rd goal.
The things we've discussed can be used at centre bounces, ball ups around the ground or boundary throwings. But there are 3 simple things to remember specifically when involved at a centre bounce. First of all, jump off one leg. Secondly, turn your body sideways to your opposition ruckman and raise your leading leg for protection. And thirdly, aim to make contact with the ball at the highest point of your leap with your arms stretched as far as you can. There's plenty to work on there and you'll pick up a few little tricks of your own as you go along. But with dedication and practice, so that you're an expert at jumping off either leg and palming with either hand, you might just end up being your team's most important player.
A great tap there from Burton down the ground. He just rides the bump and then kicks it long. And there's nothing better than giving the ball one out to Wayne Carey. He'll catch it 9 times out of 10.
There's no doubt that marking ranks is the game's most spectacular skill. Whether it be a cloud-breaking high flyer or the blindingly courageous chess mark into the oncoming pack, the mark is the skill most people rise to more than any other.
Getting back is Carey! What a mark. Oh, he had his name written on that, Sandy, from about 10 metres away.
But you won't be taking the mark of the year unless you work hard at the basics. Here to take us through the essential elements of marking and the specific skills of the chess mark is the Bombers' Matthew Lloyd and Carlton's Anthony Koutafidis.
Thanks, Wayne. G'day, kids. Before we speak specifically about the chess mark, let's go through a few of the main teaching points essential to the skill of marking. Your eyes must always be focused on the ball from the moment it leaves the boot of the kicker. Always try to position your body so that it's in line with the flight of the ball. Always move forward to meet the ball. The minute you stand there and wait for it to come to you, you're giving an opponent that extra chance to come and spoil. There are times when the chest or arm mark is the safest. Maybe the weather is bad, or perhaps you're just starting out. Either way, it's a great and essential skill to practice. To begin with, keep those eyes of yours on the ball. In the case of the chest mark, it's imperative that you get your body in line with the ball. As the ball approaches you, extend your fingers and hands with your palms facing up. Try to keep your elbows tucked into your side. You should be aiming to make first contact with the ball with your arms and hands. As soon as you feel that football, hunch your shoulders forward and hug the ball into your chest by wrapping your arms around it. Hug it tightly, squeeze it in there. You don't want some pesky defender getting their fist in there to spoil you after you've done all the hard work.
Modra! And then Harvey bangs it to about 50 and Barry Hall takes a very good mark.
He might, oh no, he passed it. Lloyd, beautiful lead. Because you'll be moving toward the ball as it approaches you, occasionally you'll need to leap into the ball when taking a chest mark. When this is the case, practice bending at the waist. This will give you greater protection from a defender and more control over the ball.
Harford comes away from centre wing. This one's out in front. And you can see the difference there. Impossible for Tim Elliott to get a fist to it.
Allen goes into the pocket. Cooter's the man. He is the man. Don't worry about that.
The hand mark is something that this bloke has become very, very good at. The skill of marking the ball out in front when leading toward it makes it almost impossible for defenders to spoil.
That's the most important reason for practicing taking marks out in front, and the reason why, whenever possible, we prefer to take this mark rather than a chest mark. But it's also critical for playing on. With your hands free and clear from your body, it makes it much easier to fire off a quick handball if you've got a teammate in a better position. As mentioned with the chest mark, the most crucial thing to do here is keep your eyes on the ball. As you lead to the approaching ball, stretch your arms out so that you've got what we might call long arms. At the end of those arms, your fingers should be spread so that the ball has a nice big target to hit. Make sure that your thumbs are placed in such a way that they will be behind the ball when it arrives. When you feel that ball in your hands, absorb the shock rather than hit it and grip it firmly in your fingers. There will be times when the ball slips through or bounces out, but keep practicing. You'll get it so that more often than not, they're sticking beautifully.
That's a good mark, isn't it, by Lloyd. Lloyd wants it wide, he's got him. It was a great kick. It's a celebration now, isn't it, of this Essendon football team. Beautiful kick to Lloyd.
As a backup, make sure that your body is in line with the ball. If the ball does slip through, then at least your body can provide the backup and you'll probably keep the ball in front of you.
Few players in the game are as good at these skills as Matthew. One way to practice is to have a friend throw the ball before you begin having it kicked to you. Get a feel for the ball, hitting your hands, practice having your hands out in front with your arms and fingers full stretched, and you'll be ready in no time for those spearing passes.
Even if you can't round up a mate, you can still practice just by throwing a ball up in the air and continually catching it, practicing the drills we've shown you.
Running down the ground, Ramanauskas unselfishly. That was classical play there by the Bombers. The ball spilling out wide where Ramanauskas beautifully balanced and a lovely weighted kick. Not much that Glenn Manton could do there, and Lloyd taking it out in front of his face, which makes it even more difficult for the defender.
It's time now for the high mark, the one we all love taking. And for some insights into that, it's over to Hawthorn forward Nick Holland.
The overhead mark is a skill every player needs to become proficient in. And for those of you out there dreaming about taking the mark of the year, the following tips might take you some way towards realising that lofty ambition. There are a few essential teaching points you need to keep in mind when taking the overhead mark. Again, as the other fellas have already pointed out, you simply have to keep your eyes on the ball at all times. Also, remember to get your body in line with the ball as it approaches you. To propel yourself at the ball effectively, jump off one foot and swing your other knee up. The lifting of the knee will give you a bit of protection from oncoming players. but also it will help you get off the ground. Keep those fingers spread, push those long arms out there. Get the tips of your thumbs as close together as you can. And as soon as the leather is in your hands, as with the hand mark, absorb the impact and hold on tight. One thing you should all be trying to achieve as you practice your hand and overhead marking is soft hands. You can create those if you remember not to snatch or grab at the ball. Attack it on the lead, meet it, but when the ball reaches you, let it come to you rather than thrusting your hands at it. Work on that and the rest of the drills the lads have shown you, and in no time, you'll be taking the mark of the day.
The kick and a great mark. Nearly to the goal square. Oh, terrific mark.
Scoreline. Oh, Fletcher!
That is unbelievable.
Do it in. Oh, what a big grab from Tarrant. Young boy ball there, but wide over the top. Robin right on the line.
Oh, guilty. Farmer!
Taylor made the man at the back. Good at Peters.
Good.
Very Hall. Oh, David Burke.
50 Modra.
Forward, Dave.
Kelly! Vintage Paul Kelly! Up goes Farmer! That is unbelievable!
Once upon a time, we would have taught the one-handed pickup. It is something you might muck around with your friends, but these days, players almost always gather the ball with two hands. So that's what we'll teach you. If you're a right-hander, approach the football to its left so that you'll be using your preferred hand to pick it up. Again, the opposite applies if you're a lefty. As you get to the ball, step slightly past it with your left foot, lower your body to a crouch position by bending both knees and bending at the waist. Learn to brace yourself in this position in case of a bump coming your way. Pick up the ball by using your right hand to the rear of the ball and your left to the front. Focus on picking up the bottom half of the ball. You might even get grass under your fingernails if you do it properly. Begin the drills walking, but then progress to a jog and then a run. Basically, increase your speed as you begin to feel comfortable. Remember to practice approaching the ball from the other side so that you learn to use both sides of your body.
The Buick tackle effective. Masiti through Pickens' legs. Coming back now is Johnson. Jason Johnson to the wing.
Once you've become more comfortable picking up the stationary ball, it will be time to practice on a moving object. In many ways, the tips you have just heard apply here, but there are a few additional things to remember when picking up a moving ball. Make sure that you work as hard as you can to get your body in line with the ball as it comes towards you. As it nears you, get down in that crouch position, bending at the knees and at the waist. Again, concentrate on bracing yourself in this position in case of a bump coming your way. The arms and hands need to be extended, so much so that they should be nearly touching the ground. Make sure that your palms are open and facing the oncoming ball. The temptation will be to pick up the moving ball with one hand, but it's a low percentage option. You should always try to get both hands down to the ball in this situation. Focus on picking up the bottom half of the ball. Also, keep your elbows close together. Once you reach the football, wrap both hands securely around it, protect it, then think about disposing of it. But until you get the ball in your hands, make that the only objective in your mind. The minute you take your eyes off the ball, you will surely fumble it.
Carousella's little kick to Huffle. Terrific take by Mercury. Daniels, well done. Attacked it hard.
Good, brilliant hands again. Superb stuff.
At ground level. Very well done by Harley.
Harvey, brilliant. Harvey, brilliant. Can he kick another one and really get them in it? Oh,
Ball handling is a great skill. You can't have a football in your hands often enough as you're learning the game.
It's all about becoming familiar with the ball, and the more often you have one in your hands, the better ball handler you will be.
Here's a kick. It'll be marked, will it? No, it won't. It was O'Loughlin who got back. He's still going to get a chance. Oh, Michael O'Loughlin! Sir Michael of the club!
Here's a little routine that you can practice. Try laying on your back and using both hands, tap and throw the ball from one hand to the other. Mix the height around, toss it a bit further to the left and to the right from time to time. Change the speed as you move the ball from hand to hand. This is a great simple skill for your hand-eye coordination.
North Melbourne back in. Oh, Winston! That's
Another great ball handling drill worth spending some time on is passing the ball in a figure 8 movement in and out of your legs. This will help with your grip strength, which will make it easier to mark the ball and will also prove great practice in guiding the ball onto your boot.
Oh, Peter, that was like magic, I think.
To put them back in front. It's a long kick. Kieran!
Oh, what a grab. What a mark.
Players at all league clubs are forever mucking around with these two drills, and it usually shows come match day. Impressive, eh?
Talented pair, that. An extension of the ball handling is the art of bouncing the ball while running. Every player will need to do it at some stage, and it can be practiced whenever you go for a run. To show us how to bounce the ball, let's head west to Freo's Peter Bell and the Eagles' Ben Cousins.
So much of the modern game is about running, and given the fact that you have to bounce the ball every 15 metres, it is a skill worth getting right. Firstly, you might like to start practicing this kneeling to reduce the distance. Hold the ball slightly on its top using your bouncing hand. Push rather than throw the ball down towards the ground out in front of you, from about waist height. Aim to have the ball bounce off its underside just behind its far point. It should be hitting the ground at an angle. Experiment until you find the correct angle for you. Your controlling hand should hinge at the wrist as you push the ball down. Your arm straightens and your fingers point to the ground as you release the ball. Done correctly, the ball will bounce straight back to you and you continue to move forward. To prepare for that, keep your arms and hands out in front and wide open, ready for the ball's return. You can do everything right and the ball can still take a strange bounce from time to time, so keep your eyes on the ball at all times. You can practice bouncing the ball walking, but as you become more comfortable, you should be looking to increase your speed. You may be tempted as you get faster and faster to throw the ball harder. Resist this and simply experiment with pushing the ball further out in front of you so that you run onto it.
Now switches play, McLeod's away. He can run virtually the length of off this oval if he wants to. It's still McLeod, nobody near him. A third bounce, have a fourth. You can take a fifth if you want. He decides to kick now and finds Burton.
He comes up to half-back, Woden, good turn of speed through some pretty heavy traffic, couple of bounces, fancies himself on, lovely ball, still Woden, Woden from half-forward, kick a goal, son! Oh, goal! Great footy!
There's no need to bang the ball into the ground. If the ground is too soft, you should do the following.
Different rules apply in the wet or on soft ground. Obviously, a slippery ground will make it difficult for the ball to come back, so there is a different skill you need to practice for such occasions. Instead of bouncing the ball on wet days, as you are running, simply hold the ball in both hands and before you've run your 15 metres, go into a crouch similar to that you learned when picking up the ball and touch the ball on the ground to your side in the space between your feet.
Swept by Dixon to Hartman, he's got Boyle inside.
They've got to meet him.
Inside 50.
They've got to come and meet him.
No one's come to him. 46 out, he's inside 40. And steady as you like, that's a great goal. That's going to hurt.
There are a few other skills you should practice when running and in possession of the ball. One is the sidestep. Given the fact that you have the ball in your hands already in this situation, your opponent is the one you should be focusing your attention on. As they approach, hold the ball out to your side with an extended arm. Plant your foot on the same side as you have the ball and push hard off that planted foot as the tackle is about to be applied. Snap the ball across and into your other arm, leaving the arm near your opponent free to fend them off. At the same time, not only should you push hard sideways, but even try to inch slightly backwards if you can, to make sure you move clearly around your opponent. It will all count for naught if you don't change direction hard. If your change of direction isn't pronounced enough, you will be easily tackled.
You can practice the sidestep on your own before introducing real-life opposition. Practice the movements at various speeds using a chair or some such stationary object. Once you feel you've got the technique worked out, then start grabbing some friends or teammates to work with.
Knocked away from goal by Wren. Edwards with toe. Tyson Edwards. Great goal. Magnificent.
Tony Francis away to Harvey. Loves to run and carry. Looks to keep going. Duck back. Then shrug the tackle. Oh, have a look at this. The footwork quite magnificent by Robert Harvey.
He's in the pocket. He's still a chance. He'll kick a goal. Yes, he will. Mickey's giving them some hope. Just a little.
There are other ways to avoid would-be tacklers, as Michael and I will now show you. The blind turn is perfect if you are being chased from behind and wanting to turn and go back the other way. As you feel your opponent getting closer, hold the ball out wide with your preferred hand. If it's your right hand, you lean out on your right leg to make your opponent think that you're going to the right. However, you then dig your right foot into the ground and push off it really hard so that you step to the left-hand side as in the side step. As you do this, you continue to turn to your left in an arc that takes you away from your opponent and quickly accelerate away. The most important thing to remember is to have sound control of the ball when you're about to perform your blind turn. The worst thing you can do is show your opponent the ball only to have him steal it away from you, should you fumble it or allow him to knock it clear.
Hayes will be a danger, out in the pocket. He's got Longmuir in the goal square. Hazelby to the top of the square.
Left foot, Bartlett, he wants that 5th goal. Can he get it? Oh, he does it beautifully. Back away in the goal, Trent. Here's number 5. Yes, sir.
The other evasive skill worth learning is a dummy, used most efficiently when the opponent is approaching you head on. As the opponent approaches, shape your handball or kick in a forward direction. It helps if you fake a look in the direction you are shaping to kick or handball. Hopefully your opponent will fall for this and prepare to smother, which is when you make your move to sell him the dummy. As he or she stops to smother, you draw the ball back to the other arm, freeing the arm closest to your opponent to fend him off if needed, and move around the would-be smotherer, pushing off hard in the other direction, as in the sidestep and the blind turn. Again, you can use stationary objects in the backyard to practice this before you start fooling a few of your friends and teammates at practice.
It's going to stay in play. The young man does well from almost an impossible angle. Let's kick the goal.
And he goes the Oz man. Big Aussie. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Jones goes in. The goal of the year by Aussie Jones.
Whipple stands underneath it. Simpson showed courage. Great footwork that time by Beaumont. Finds the skipper. Bradley, 35 metres out. Rams it home.
Time now to focus on some of the defensive skills of Australian football. Let's begin with smothering.
Ball forward over the back Waterhouse. Oh, great smother.
Sensational work.
Perfect smother by Hamish Simpson.
Burke will have to be good here. He's outnumbered. Rintoul's handball. Mateer, what a smother. Desperation, absolutely fantastic from Carr.
A great mark or a brilliant goal are obvious team motivators, but there are few ways to ignite a team better than to throw yourself across an opponent's boot to smother a kick. There are a few things to work through when practicing your smothering. When you approach the kicker, bring your hands and arms out from hip level and keep them close together. Protect yourself by turning side on and step forward on the leg nearest the kicker. Bend at the knees, don't just lean forward as you lower your body position. You should aim to extend your arms and have your hands at about 45 degrees as you place them over the kicking boot. Your fingers and arms need to be nice and strong throughout the smother. Your head stays down, shielded by your leading arm and shoulder. Your aim should then be to push down hard on the ball when it is on or has just left the kicker's boot. Naturally, you'll be guessing if you don't keep your eyes on the ball, so watch it at all times. It will take a bit of courage, but with the correct technique, you'll be protected and the rewards are great.
As far as free kick goes, it's then when they pull one out that everyone cries.
Smother.
Hocking, lovely work by the Cats. And Burns runs in and rams it home.
He kicked the goal, but Bizzle was terrific.
Feeds the ball off. Williams runs into the up goal. Great smother. Fantastic play. That man, Stephen Silvani, take a bow. That was fantastic.
There are good ways to build up to a full smother. Start by having someone perform an underarm, one-hand throw while you smother. Progress to having a ball kicked off a small marker or witch's hat. When your confidence begins to lift, then introduce someone kicking the ball, but work on technique and confidence before doing so.
Gathering it is Davis. Always looks as though he wants to give the hand pass away, Chad Davis.
Brent Harvey.
Then Brent Harvey's smother was first class.
Behind over his shoulder, there's nobody there for the Blues. Scott gets back for the Lions. One for
great smother.
What an act of courage by Lance Whitnell.
That is what you train. That is just a perfect... Any young kids out there watching how to smother football, Lance Whitnell, you are absolutely...
Tackling is another great defensive skill and an integral part of our game. We'll focus on 3 tackles: from behind, from the side and from the front.
Got him. Loose ball picked up by Curran. Tips one in. Inspirational stuff.
The kick in the direction of Everett. He's got a chance. He'll kick a goal, won't he? No, he won't. He's been brilliantly run down by Andrew Shorble from behind.
When tackling from behind, you need to perform the drop tackle. In effect, you need to run him down, focus on his waist so that you're not fooled by any tricks, grab him from behind with your arms wrapped around his elbows or arms, keep your head to the side, then simply drop to your knees. As you drop, attempt to spin him to the side. Perhaps even lean back as you tackle to avoid any suggestion of a push in the back. Practice this at a slow, controlled pace. And remember, the technique is tackle, drop, spin.
Out of the middle, good chase, Dragosevic.
Confronted by Rice, crashes past. Good run of Massey. Terrific stuff by Massey.
Can Garlick take Johnson on? No.
Great tackle, super tackle.
The next tackle we'll focus on is the tackle from the front. Approach the player with the ball with your eyes on his waist and his hips. Make sure your head is positioned to either side of the ball carrier and that you tuck your chin into your chest. You should be aiming to make initial contact with your arms and shoulders. Your aim is to pin the arms of the ball carrier while he is still in possession. Use your own body weight to slow down his progress, or use his body weight and momentum to spin him to the ground.
Lyle, tackle,
Bowed again.
The tackle came from Hamish Simpson. Beautiful running support provided by Blumfield. That oval ball wouldn't bounce for him. He's caught, and caught beautifully. Perfect tackle. Sensational tackle by Williams.
Backwards though. And Hunter had to be quick. Oh, he sold Curly into all sorts of trouble.
How good was the tackle though? Jared Malloy's steel in his arms.
The final tackle is called the hook tackle, which we perform when tackling from the side. Approach the player from the side, reach across his chest with your leading arm, attempting to grab him just above the elbows. Allow his body weight and momentum to take him forward. As this happens, wrap your other arm behind him, placing your head into the small of his back. Drop your own weight as for a drop tackle and spin the player to the ground. Again, the tackle involves wrap, drop, spin.
Into the pocket. The ball bounces favourably. What a tackle! Glenn Archer! Oh! That was unbelievable!
But the Crows really take it up. Oh, what a tackle! That is a sensation by Hardwick.
Begin your practice sessions on a partner, standing still and merely walking your way through the techniques before you start practicing on a moving target. If you have access to soft ground or even gym mats, use these to fall on. Also, if you have access to a judo or karate coach, they can teach you a great deal about how to fall without risking being hurt. Remember, tackle below the shoulders and above the knees.
Up towards Grant, here he is. Lepage with him, gives it off to Brown. Lepage, what a tackle! Play on, no, holding the ball. It's a dangerous kick, good, pick it at the back. Spiritual tackle.
Well, that's the right decision, but it's also a brilliant tackle. He has grabbed him by the arms, the ball, the entire body, and just crushed him to the ground.
This is where they need a big mark. A huge pack of players. Waiting down in front was Rice. His kick is a puller. Straight to Wallace. The mean bad man. Can he cover himself in glory? He's lost it, and Murphy takes it away. That could be the turnover.
Time now to look at the art of bumping. You can only bump an opponent when they are within 5 metres of the ball. Keep that in mind all the time. To bump, we use our side, including our shoulder, arm and hip. You want to lean towards your opponent, pushing hard from the foot furthest away from the person you want to bump. The arm needs to stay bent with your elbow tucked into the side of your body the whole time. You should be aiming to make contact with your opponent with your shoulder and upper arm, and should be trying to bump above his knees and below his shoulders. Protect your head at all times and make sure that you always have your feet on the ground when bumping. The perfectly timed bump will be delivered when your opponent is off balance. A good way to get the feel for a correct bump is to get a teammate to bump into you, or you do the same to him. Often, AFL players will do this as part of their pre-game warm-up.
Kicks to about 60, Blumfield front spot. Good play by Ackermanis with a hip and shoulder to release. He'll look up and force the kick in a hurry, but not a bad kick to the pocket. Barty, no, boundary throw in.
Trent used the body, Curly, pumped over the line by Hickmott, and we've got a throw.
Another vital defensive part of the game is the spoil. You'll usually be doing this when a player is trying to mark the ball in front of you. When trying to spoil a chest mark, approach your opponent from the side. Make sure that you have your eyes focused on the ball. Your aim is to stretch your arm into the path of the ball and punch it away before it reaches him.
Sets it up in the shadows to Waterhouse. Here's Modry. Should have it. Great play by Burke. Super defensive play.
Hand pass is shot out from sting line. They move it up towards centre wing, but no further as Johnson is well spoiled.
Not good a deal, James Hird, but it was there. Look at the kick. Lloyd, what's a good spoil. Manton got the fist to it outside the 50.
When trying to spoil the overhead mark, aim to use long arms, stretching as far as you can, and with a strong clenched fist, punch the ball before it reaches the hands of your opponent. Time your run as though you were trying to take the mark. Make sure that you time your leap to spoil, reaching the ball at your highest point. It is vital to have your eyes on the ball at all times, and remember to avoid pushing your opponent in the back or contacting him on or above the shoulders. Again, eyes for the ball, and you should be right.
What looked like being a Tigers goal could be a goal at the other end in a minute. Callaghan, spoiled by Kellaway, and the ball to the line.
Taken by Brown. Nathan Brown goes up towards half-forward. Darryl White gets a big fist to it, slams it clear.
Is all alone. Look out. It's an up and under kick, and Archer's coming. Oh!
That is just a great example of an aggressive spoil.
Oh, that is the spoil of the year, isn't it?
Shepherding is another of the great team-orientated skills that often go unnoticed by fans, but are loved by teammates and coaches. The aim of the shepherd is to keep a would-be tackler away from a teammate who has possession of the ball. Perform the shepherd by using your arms and body to produce a barrier between the tackler and your teammate. Brace yourself with knees bent, stretch your arms out, ready to hold the opponent away from your teammate. Be careful not to make contact above shoulder level. That would be a free kick against you for high contact. Remember that you can only shepherd when the ball is no more than 5 metres away from you. Any further and it would be a free kick against you for interference.
Left foot punt kick, round towards Burns again. He's got to beat a couple. Silvani is one of them. Rice is another.
Cousins working against Baker, leads back in the race. Kemp brilliantly done. Would have got a free kick. Advantage is paid.
Clever by Moorcroft. McCurry to run onto it. Solomon provides the shepherd, and McCurry strolls in, and then kick their hind skull.
When he saw Solomon in the viewfinder and he recognised, I will definitely become a shepherded player here, he just coasts.
So there you have it, kids. In there are some great hints and tips on how you can improve your skills, which will see you enjoy your football as much as possible.
And that's the most important thing, to enjoy your football. Sure, we all want to be the best player in our team, but it's much more important to have as much fun as you can while working on becoming the best player you can be.
And through practice and dedication, who knows, one day you might be here telling the next generation of players how they can get the most out of this great game.